Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew with James Kirkland.
Powerful and provocative, prophetic and practical,
Have you ever found yourself?
Are you dating for that person?
informative and
I feel
inspirational.
every bit of it. Like, I'm not trying to waste my
How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do.
Intellectual stew.
Come on, let's talk about it with me, the mind massager.
Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew with James Kirkland. Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew with James Kirkland. Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew.
Ready to get started in a minute.
James Kirkland. Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew.
We get ready to get started.
Intellectual stew with James Kirkland.
Go with that. What's up, Viola?
Intellectual stew.
Oh.
Intellectual stew.
Trying to give people time to come in.
Intellectual stew.
Y'all, this stuff I'm not saying. All right, I'm good. All right, what's up? What it do? Time for another episode of the Intellectual Stew with yours truly, James Kirkland. How y'all doing today? Y'all doing all right? Speak to me. I need to talk back church tonight. I don't need y'all sitting on me, but I need y'all to say, hey, what's up? Amen. that's right or that's wrong or you a lie, whatever. I need some feedback tonight. And first of all, I need you all to share this thread. Hey, what's up, Sharon? You didn't save me any food, so but I saw it on your post the other day. But share this thread and then press shared, so I'll know that you shared it, so we can get some more people involved in this conversation tonight. I appreciate you all. You all have y'all been showing up, man. Y'all been showing up in a major way, and y'all don't realize how much I do appreciate you all. I really do. I don't take it for granted that you take time out of your busy schedules to come and to listen to me or endure my antics and all those types of things. I really do appreciate it. I really do. So don't think that I take it for granted, because I don't. I really don't. I really don't. So let's continue to do this every week. Let's continue to do this. Let's continue to grow. I'll make my commitment. I'll still. Hey, what's up, Tiffany? Tiffany shared it. Elder Lisa Smith shared it. Who else shared it? Go ahead and share it. I'm gonna get into this text tonight, but I appreciate you all, man. Last week was a wonderful experience. Who did we talk about? Elijah last week, and depression. But we're going to continue that theme tonight with the depression piece, because there was a lot of people, man, that were dealing with depression, and it's a lot of people now that we deal with on daily basis, right? That we don't even realize are going through things, right? Because we're so. Thank you, Viola, for sharing that. We're so consumed with the things that we're going through that we miss what other people are going through, right? And so we got to be very, very, very cognizant and careful as it relates to dealing with people, because you never know. You might just really be dealing with somewhat of a ticking time bomb. You just never know, because people are that close to a psychotic break. People are that close, and you don't want to have that responsibility of causing someone to that trigger to be the final trigger. Now, I'm gonna need your help tonight. I need you to pray for me. My little sister is fighting for her life right now. She is on life support. While I was in Little Rock after church on yesterday, I found out that she was in the emergency room and that she was unresponsive. So right now, I need everyone that believes in the power of prayer, everyone that knows who Jehovah Rapha is, everyone that knows what prayer can do. I need you to help me get them through. I need to bombard heaven on my little sister's behalf. I need to bombard heaven. I need to bombard heaven on her behalf. So if you all would help me with that, and I'm going to try to get through this tonight, because it has been, it's definitely taxing. It's definitely taxing. They no hospitals in Arkansas could take her, so they had to take her out of state. But really, she's not doing well. So pray for us. We lost our mother about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, and this is tough. And she was definitely one that took it hard. And depression is hard. So we want to make sure that we keep people in prayer, and we want to just be, sympathetic. If you can't be empathetic, be sympathetic. If you haven't gone through it, it's okay. It's okay if you haven't gone through it. And it's okay if you don't have the answers. If sometimes you can just sit there. Sometimes you can just be a listening ear. A lot of times when people bring me issues, I don't always have a solution. I don't always try to offer advice. Sometimes I just listen, and let them put the cards on the table, right? So you just never know what someone is going through. So let's brothers and sisters, for real, let's try our very best to be cognizant of this. If you're coming in now, do me a favor. I'm getting ready to get into our lesson on tonight. We're going to be looking at 1 Samuel tonight. If you're following along, we're still continuing our theme as it relates to depression and how depression makes you feel. And our lesson, or our thought for tonight, is when life leaves you with limits. When life leaves you limited. The Bible says in 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse number 1, and there was a certain man of Ramathaim Zophim of Mount Ephraim. His name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuth and Ephrathite. And he had 2 wives. Somebody type in the comments 2 wives. Now, I know some of y'all just got an attitude. I feel it. I felt the estrogen rise up in that moment when I said two wives, because some of y'all like, ain't no way in the world I'm gonna be somebody's other wife, all that stuff. But anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. And he had two wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. And this man, and let me stop right there. I'll stop right there. Let's observe a few things about the text in verse 1. In verse 1, we learn a few things about this certain man. First of all, we see a geographical connection because we learn his origin. You can learn a lot about somebody by just knowing where they came from. You can learn a lot. You ever notice when you were young? See, y'all don't do that no more because y'all don't even meet y'all children's boyfriends and girlfriends. But back in the day, when you brought somebody home, you'd be like, the grandma would be like, "Who your people? Who your mama? Who your daddy? Because you can tell a lot about somebody by where they came from. This man was from Ramathaim Zophim of Mount Ephraim, and I thought it was interesting that we learned where he was from before we learned his name. And his name is Elkanah. Now, we also see a historical connection because we see his lineage. We see that he's the son. Of course, not necessary. Nothing's absolute. Elder Lisa, you got to give. I'm gonna give you a margin for error. You give me a margin for error too, right? Because we can learn a lot from. We can learn a lot from some, not necessarily, but definitely sometimes, right? Like I can look at a person's skin color and tell they might be from. I'm gonna leave that alone. But anyway, we see a historical connection, but we also see his lineage. We see he's the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, and also the son of Zuph and Ephrathite. Now, if you go and look up all their names, and you learn something about each one of them, and they carry those characteristics. Because when we get to that, that's not important. Anyway, the meaning of Elkanah. The word Elkanah, that was the man in the text. The meaning of Elkanah, it means that God has purchased. That's significant because I don't think God makes bad investments. Because if you know the end before the beginning, how can you know the end before the beginning and make a bad investment, right? Because like I said, so many times we're so consumed with our now. And we only see now that we don't understand that there's a next. And what God does is because God is not restricted by time, God steps over time, knows what the end looks like, even in the beginning. While we're going through what we're groaning through, God has already seen us grow through it. Does that make sense? While we're going through what we are groaning through, God has already seen us growing through it. He's already seen us on the other side of it. He's already seen us coming out. He's already seen us making it through. He's already made a way, but we're still in. How did I even get on that? Okay, I don't understand. Okay, anyway, God sees God sees the end before the beginning. Now, the custom during this time was that a man could have as many wives as his income could support. Elkanah had two wives. Verse number 2, and he had two wives. The name of one was Peninnah, and he had two wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. So we're learning a lot about Elkanah. He had a family. So we see his ideological views as well. He believed in family. He was a family man. He had wives, and he also had children. But we also learned something about his belief system. Verse number 3, and this man went up out of his city yearly to worship and to sacrifice unto the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. And when the time was that Elkanah offered, this is what happened during that time. The custom is that annually or certain times they would go into the city to offer sacrifices. That's where they would go because that's where the temple was. Now, because he was a religious man and he was a family man, he would take his entire family into the city to offer sacrifices unto God because he was a religious man. So he had a belief system. He went up. And when the time was, verse number 4, that Elkanah offered, he gave to his wife, Peninnah his wife, and to all her sons and her daughters portions. But unto Hannah he gave a worthy portion. Why? For he loved Hannah, but the Lord had shut up her womb. That's what we're trying to get to tonight. Listen, when he would go, because see what they would do is they would take a bullock, they would take some type of animal, some type of sacrifice, take it to the temple, cut it up, do whatever they did with it, offer it unto God. And when they had the pieces left over, they would take those pieces and he would share those with his family. He would give Peninnah and her children some. But even though Hannah didn't have children, he still gave her a worthy portion. Now, I can imagine how this must have made Hannah feel, because she's married to a man in whom God has invested, whom God has purchased. She's married to him, but she has been unable to produce children. I'm going to make this all make sense in a minute. Give me a minute. Now, she wasn't the only woman in the Bible who God had shut up their wombs. Sarah in Genesis 11, God shut up her womb. Rebecca in Genesis chapter 25, look it up in your spare time. God had shut up her womb. Rachel in Genesis 29, God shut up her womb. Manoah, the mother of Samson in Judges 13, God shut up her womb. The Shunammite woman in 2 Kings chapter 4, God has shut up all their wombs. And in 1 Samuel chapter 1, Hannah, God has shut up her womb. They all had something in common. They were all barren. Although it was considered to be dangerous in that day, bearing children was still highly valued, and women's primary role was that of mother. Now understand what barren means. Barren means to pluck up, which is the opposite of plant. Biblical women suffered deep shame as a consequence, their barrenness attributed to some hidden wrong, sin, or flaw. In other words, this is what if a woman was unable to bear children, by their estimation, it had to be something wrong with her. Therefore, she was ashamed. Therefore, she felt inadequate. That's a good way to look at it. Therefore, she felt inferior. And Hannah was already ashamed because she was unable to produce while others were producing all around her. Have you ever had moments in life where it looked like stuff that used to work don't work anymore? And then when you go and try to pull it out again, that thing don't work. But it looked like everybody around you is producing, but you're unable to produce. And when it puts you in a state where you're unable to produce, it causes you to feel inadequate. It causes you to feel inferior. It causes you to feel less than. And that's how Hannah felt in the text. She felt less than because she was unable to produce. And I want to talk to somebody here because I don't know who I'm talking, because I'm not talking to somebody who's infertile just when it comes to having a child. I'm talking about when these hands that you when you try to put your hand to something, but when you put your hand to it, it seems like everything you try just doesn't seem to work. I mean, even now, dealing with this issue with my sister, I mean, in the last 7 years, man, mother-in-law passed away, then my mother passed away, then my father almost passed, now my sister. I mean, look like your hand seems like the productivity is passe. It's no longer working. Everything that used to work no longer works, and it makes you feel inadequate. And you know what the bad part about it is, Elder Lisa? You know the bad part about it, Coy? The bad part about it is when you're going through it and you feel it yourself, you feel it on the inside because you got to look at the man or the woman in the mirror, but then you got somebody on the outside that's provoking and making fun of your situation. Look at verse number 6. Her adversary also provoked her sore for to make her fret, because the Lord had shut up her womb. It's one thing for me to be upbeat, one thing for me to have an indictment. It's one thing for me to have a deficiency. It's one thing for me to be down, but then when you're going to come and make fun of my deficiency, because I'm going through it and I'm groaning through it and I'm trying to grow through it, but you're going to make fun of me while I'm going through. How? especially when it's something that I don't have control of. Because the scripture says in verse number 6, last couple of words, and the Lord had shut up her womb. Now, there are some, Corey, you can help me on this because I know you're in the medical field. I studied a little bit, and they said that very few, there's a small percentage of those who are infertile who it's genetic. It's genetic. It's something genetic. But for the most part, it's environmental. It's something that if God decides to give you children, then you give you a child, then you get it. But Corey, help me out with that. Am I wrong? How oftentimes is it genetic that a woman is infertile? Y'all talk back to me. I'm like I said, I need to talk back church tonight for real. But it says her adversary also provoked her sore to make her fret, because she's okay. Corey said I was right. Very small percentage of it is genetic. So there's nothing to tie to it. It used to be a time. Now I'm in my 50s. Things have kind of changed now. Our sexuality, got a whole bunch of different things have changed. When we were young, you wanted to get married and live the American dream, have 2.5 children, get the house with the picket fence, get the cat and the dog. Oh, with the dog, I don't want no cat. The dog, whatever. However you did it, that was the thing. Now people don't want children, right? But that was the thing. But then you have a whole other people who just keep having children, but then you have those who want children, but then they can't have children. Now I have a guest in the back room. So I'm gonna take a pause right here in where I am in my lesson. I'm gonna put a pin here because she when I put this topic out last week about infertility, she and I had an inbox conversation, and during our inbox conversation I said I wanted to find a lady who might have had trouble bearing children. She said, you found her. I said, are you willing to share your story? Now I'm gonna tell you, we have no plan. We don't have any questions worked out, so this is gonna be 100% organic, and if you have any questions for her, do so. I'm sure she'll be welcome to answer. And if you can relate, if you've been unable to have children, y'all go ahead and share this. If you haven't shared this yet, go ahead and share it, because I'm going to bring Nicole in. In just 1 second. So go ahead and share this. Like I said, if you are one of those who've not been able to bear children for whatever reason, maybe you can relate. Maybe you can help us with this story. But I'm going to bring her in. I haven't tested her mic or anything. Y'all pray hard. I'm sorry, Nicole. We're going to take a chance. Here we go. Let's go. Corey, I'm wrong for that. Here we go. All right. Oh.
Hello. Hi,
good. We can hear you good. We can hear you real good. Welcome to the Intellectual Stew. How you doing tonight?
I am well. I'm happy to be here.
Happy to be here. I appreciate you for like I said, we Nicole and I talk from time to time. She might ask me questions about things related to the show, or she might make some suggestions, especially when I got into this mental health portion. She started kind of helping me with content, sharing little things with me. And like I said, this week when I was dealing with the unhappy triggers, and she saw I was dealing with Hannah, she said, "Are you talking about barrenness?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Oh, I said, I'm thinking about getting a lady on to talk." She said, "Well, you found one." I said, "Okay." She said, "Yeah." And so, Nicole, first of all, have you ever been married? You have been married. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And how long, if you don't mind me asking? Somebody called you beautiful too. Somebody said, "Hello, beautiful Miss Nicole." That ain't how she spelled her name though. Her name is Nykohl. I know how that feels because my last name is Kirkland. Everybody want to make me a land when I'm just a Lynn. So I like people to speak. So
they
talk
may
to me.
Spelling it the way my mom spelled it. That's my remix of what.
Are you remixed it? Okay, no, okay, you remix. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Hey, I'm gonna remix my name. How many different ways can I spell James? Jayme. Oh, Coy said it's on the screen because right. Consider the clues, huh, Coy? You're so crazy. That's my girl right. Coy, we gotta do a show soon. That's my homegirl right there. All right, so we got Nicole on. Nicole, so talk to me. So I asked her. I said, so you consider yourself infertile or barren? And you said, well, I've done things to have children and I haven't been able to prove it. So talk to the audience a little bit about your journey.
Well, I, from the gate, I grew up in the church, and from young, just being a student of the Bible. When I mentioned, are you talking about Hannah? One reason I'm so familiar is because I remember as a young person when I didn't quite understand the sermons, I oftentimes found myself in First Samuel reading just the Bible while sermons were going on. So I got very familiar with the story of Hannah. And just in being a student of the Bible, growing up in church, understanding the importance that family plays in the building of the church and the growing of the church, I always wanted to be a wife and a mother. And
Mm.
so, very young, in my early 20s, I did get married to an older man. I was 23 at the time of my marriage, and he was 31, who already had children as well. And so I thought, at some point when the Lord saw fit, that it would be my turn to have children. But it never came to pass. And as I said, we were doing the things to have the kids. Uh, Matter of fact, his children at one point, his two sons, they came and they lived with us. So I was mothering because they lived in the house with us. And it wasn't until I went to have my yearly visit one time, one of my gynecologists, he had concern because he was like, "You're a healthy female. You should be able to have children." And I was like shocked. It was a black male gynecologist, and he ran some tests on me in office what he could do, and he was like, "What we're running now shows that you're good. We can go deeper and have some type of fluid go through my fallopian tubes to see if there's any scarring or anything like that, because you can get scarring from STDs and different things like that." And I had, while in college, contracted chlamydia at one time, but I did what I had to do and got rid of that. But I lost my job, so I wasn't able to continue with that. And then when I did get another gynecologist, her recommendation was that I just get some ovulation tool, right? Because she was like, fertility medicine is very expensive. So she was like, I would recommend that you get the ovulation tube, and when they say you're ovulating, do it. But at that time, I wasn't married anymore, and I don't desire to bring kids in the world without a husband and father.
Gotcha.
So that wasn't an option for me. But I was married 10 years to that husband. I've been married twice, and to my other husband, who had kids, even had twins. I still was not able to have any children, and I've never been pregnant.
Gotcha. So let's first of all, so you all were trying to have children. You all were, because a lot of us just end up,
We
oops.
weren't not trying.
People a lot of us, we don't, back in the, Juwanza Kunjufu said you should plan your children. You should have them at, the ideal thing is to have a first child at 28, have them 4 years apart, two children 4 years apart, so that's family planning. Most of us don't do the planning. I know I love all my children, but I ain't playing now one of them jokers. I said
Exactly.
oops every last one time, and I wasn't mad when they got, when she was pregnant. I was married. I mean, I wasn't upset. So it was like, but I know it was oops every time. So you, like you said, you weren't doing anything to not have children, and
Yeah.
so you were processing, but unfortunately you wasn't producing. You were doing the things that were supposed to, that are necessary to have
Mhm.
children. And of course, as you said, your husbands had
Had to.
children before,
Yeah.
so it wasn't them, so it had to be you. I mean, it had to unfortunately be that connection. Now let
What
me
about
say this as well. Let me say that. Let me put this caveat for you, because I don't want you, because you're about to bite my head off. Don't bite me off. I'm joking. I'm joking. But you don't. Now this is for people in the audience. Just because you're barren doesn't mean you can't be a mother. Okay, you
absolutely?
can still,
Yeah.
yeah, you can still, just because you're barren doesn't mean you haven't had children, because there are other ways to have you stepchildren, you have raise adoption, other methods of that. Now go ahead and say what you're going to say. I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off.
Yeah, I was just saying, I agree wholeheartedly. And to be honest, I feel that adopting gives us an ability to be most like God, because that's exactly what He's done for us. He's adopted us. Christ is the only begotten. So
Yeah.
that's just like coming forth from my body. That's a biological begotten child. But we are all adopted. So in a way, I felt like it's even a bigger privilege to be able to adopt a child that's already here and choose them to be yours.
All right, let's talk about your mindset though. While
Okay.
you're married and you're trying to have children, how did that make you feel?
Well, to be honest, I still struggle on Mother's Day because I mothered, right? I was my sons. I call them my chosen sons. I don't call them stepsons because me and their fathers divorced, and even before that, I would call them my chosen sons. I chose them when I chose him. Um, Mother's Day is a struggle for me because I always wanted kids, and people know that I raised the boys. A lot of people didn't know they weren't my biological kids because of the relationship we had, and they lived with us. So it was often a reminder to me, though, that they were not my children. They did not. When they came to live with me, I didn't have them call me mom. They knew their mother. She was still in their lives, so they called me by my name. Um, and so it was a strain for me because I always wanted to be a mother, and I felt like I am mothering and I am doing a good job. And just in reading the scriptures, and that what made me dive a little deeper when I wasn't able to conceive, and I started reading the scriptures, and I saw where it said the Lord closed wombs for certain women, and it somewhat made me feel like, man, if I do have a child, it's going to be some type of child because the Lord would have opened this womb up. So I know
Wow,
they will have a miracle work like
that's good.
they have now. I
That's
know it's going to be a special child because it would be his doing.
Yeah, and so when you look in that verse number 7 said, as he went, as he went up there year by year, when she went up to the house of the Lord, Hannah,
Mm.
Peninnah provoked her, and she wept and did not eat. Now, does that not sound like depression to you? Because when you do get depressed, it will affect your appetite. You know what I'm saying? It will cause you to cry. You know what I'm saying? It will put you in a dark place. Did you ever find yourself in that dark place?
Often, even now,
Even
especially as
now?
I'm getting older. Yeah, especially as I'm getting older with no husband, no kids. Who's going to take care of me? Who's going to look out for me? Um, it's a concern for me. I try to be good to my nieces and my nephews. I'm good to my chosen sons. So, the hope is that they'll do, but it's even a weight for me now, to be honest, if I'm honest with you.
Viola Moreland said it definitely does. She said it definitely puts you in a dark place. And I mean, like I said, I'm a man. I don't have a monthly visitor. I don't have those things
And
that
that's
women
a
have.
reminder. I'm glad you brought that up because
I was listen. I was sitting here in my mind trying to figure out how to bring it up. Go ahead.
that is a constant reminder, and all of the challenges that come with that, with the menstrual cycle. I mean, there are women that actually shut down from cramps and the things associated with our monthly cycles. Me, I had to have about 2 years ago a procedure called myomectomy because of fibroids. So we as women deal with a lot of things with our reproductive system. And when you don't have kids, you're like, what am I going through this for? Like, what's the point? And it's just a reminder that you're not producing.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. When something is processing, because your monthly is showing up. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? You're a healthy woman. I've seen you walking and all those types of things. So I'm sure you have a healthy lifestyle. So when something is processed, I think about the dream Nebuchadnezzar had that Joseph had to interpret. Right, when you go to sleep and when you go to sleep and you lay down, you expect the dream. You expect have it go through the night. So when your body's processing and functioning and doing what it seems like it's supposed to do, but then it doesn't produce,
Yeah.
right? And so you're going through these things. I can only imagine, you're a healthy woman, you're married, you did the right thing, you get engaged in holy matrimony. You don't have to use protection anymore. Everybody's healthy, and y'all want children, da 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 da. But then all of a sudden it just doesn't come because if the Lord had shut up the womb.
Yeah.
And so I was doing my. You can click off whenever you want to, because I'll talk for a while, and I'm enjoying you here and you helping me, so it doesn't really bother me if you stay, because I can do this with you or however you do it. But I've learned several things about infertility, and it says that infertility can trigger depression, right? And you can help me if it works. But it
Absolutely.
says infertility, number one, it causes stress. It says, and it causes a lot of stress, which leads to depression. And
Mhm.
studies show that 25 to 60% of people with infertility experience depression symptoms. If 25, so if they have high levels of stress, infertility can cause someone to stress. Did it cause you to stress?
Absolutely. Yeah. I cope with the scripture though, but certain things like Mother's Day, when Mother's Day come, I stressed out. Uh, you know, um, that generally was a big stressor for me when Mother's Day come. But in general, when a woman gets married, you anticipate having a family, building a family. And when you're doing the things trying to do that and it's hard and you don't understand why, and you're looking around, and as for me, I'm thinking to myself, I'm qualified to raise somebody else's kid, but why can't any come forth from my own body? Because
Wow.
that's exactly what I was doing, raising someone else's kid, doing the things. And to be honest with you, I'll tell you the truth. As I told you, some people didn't know that my sons weren't my biological sons, so I actually told them because
Mhm.
when the youngest came to live with us, I put him in kindergarten. That's what grade he was going to when my husband told me he wasn't sending them back home to their mother.
Mhm.
And so the church only knew, and we favor too. He could go for my son, um, but it was just I would just constantly be like, well, Father, I'm good enough to raise these boys. Like I'm in this thing. And I remember just as I was raising the boys, some things that I was going through, feelings I was feeling, like the motherly. I don't know. Some people struggle and feel like there can be no connection with kids when they don't come from your body. But that wasn't the case for me. And I would tell myself, just because I raised the boys, I
Mhm.
said, Lord, if I could love more than I love these boys, I understand why you haven't given me children. Because I didn't see how it could be deeper. People like to tell me, because I have a lot of advice for people about kids. I raised kids. They didn't come from, but I did raise kids, and I was a child, and I had a good mama. So I give some advice sometime on rearing kids and different things. But I hear a lot. Oh, you don't understand because you don't have any of your own. I get that a lot. Like I
Wow.
can't relate. I can't understand because I haven't had any of my own. But as I told you, if some of the things I endured while raising my sons, uh, that if it could be stronger because the children came forth from my body, I understand why God didn't give me any.
I need you to unpack that a little bit more. How many? Because what do you think you would do? What do you think would that? Talk to me a little bit more.
I was a mama bear. Like they come from my boys, I'm ready. Like I the pressures like of the education. I remember we moved to a certain place and I was just stressed, just wanting to make sure that my oldest son would be in a high school where he was learning, where he was being taught, and
Mhm.
that he was at that time he was making grades, bringing home straight A's, and I wasn't never satisfied. He didn't understand. See, I knew algebra. It was algebra, right? I
Mhm.
love algebra. I knew algebra. So he was bringing home A's. I'm asking him stuff about what he's learning. He can't tell me, and I was stressed out because I went to a college where I saw how public schools failed certain people, and they had to start with uh, non-college level classes, but yet you paying for credits. And
Yeah.
I was really burdened by that thought of my son going to college and that happening. So me and my husband, we moved to a different district, and I just remember the burden that I felt about his education, the burden that I felt about him growing up, becoming a man. Some things that my youngest son had to endure with a breakout and different things that he had. Just how I was so internally impacted by what they were going through, and even in school dealing with students and kids doing little things, and I had to come in through the emails and tell the principal what I needed done and different things. And I would think to myself, I was ready to meet mamas and ready to meet children to get some straightening about some things. And I was like, I still have those emails, right? I still have those emails sent in
Give me
2012.
that's evidence. That's evidence. Don't give nobody incriminating evidence against you.
That's look, I said, if I could be any more like crazy or ready to rob than this, I understand why the Lord didn't do it.
Yeah, but here's the juxtaposition, right? This statistics say up to 40% of women experiencing infertility have a psychiatric diagnosis.
Mm,
Most often it's depression or anxiety.
mm,
And studies have found that the incidence of depression in infertile couples is significantly higher than infertile couples, right? But it also says that depression can contribute to infertility and distress experienced during infertility treatment may lead many couples to stop pursuing. Like, for instance, like you said, you start doing infertility treatments, right? And you start doing these treatments to try to get pregnant or become pregnant. And then when it doesn't work, what happens? You become more stressed. And when you become more stressed, then that leads to more depression. You understand what I'm saying? So I can only imagine that it makes someone feel almost inadequate. But I want to re-emphasize that you are living proof that you can be barren and still be a mother. You know, that doesn't stop you from it. And I need people to understand that just because you have not been able to have children, there are plenty of children that need mothers, that need good mothers, right? There are those that are out there. How did
and to be honest, I've witnessed a lot of people that do go that route ultimately do have their own. Just recently, one of my friends, they've been married over 10 years when they decided to adopt, and he revealed that his wife just gave birth, and they've been together 15 years. It's been a journey. I don't know if it included any IVF or anything like that, but she just recently gave birth, but it was a long journey before they had one of their own, and they did adopt before having their own child. So a lot of people go there healthy. Yep, a healthy little baby boy.
Gotcha. Now, here's the next thing I want to discuss. And like I said, anytime you feel like you need to put your Baptist finger up and walk out, you can walk out. We're gonna be all right. But this is the next question. This is a question I want to ask the audience. This is a question I want to ask those in the audience. Y'all are listening tonight. I know y'all are feeling the cold, and some of y'all are relating. I get it. Because this is how do you deal with those? This is a rhetorical question for you, Nicole, right now. But for everybody else, I want you all to tell me how you deal with those. I know Elder Lisa Smith is going to tell me how she does it. But how do you deal with those that you know are dealing with depression? If you know somebody's dealing with depression, you know it because their attitudes, their behaviors, all those things. I got a list of things I'm going to offer in a minute. You can help me with these, Nicole. Tell me if they help. But how do you deal with those? Elkanah, what he did was, because he loved her so much, he tried to compensate. You know, he gave Peninnah what she deserved, gave her children portions, but the Bible says he gave Hannah what? A worthy portion, because he loved her. So she didn't have children. She didn't have, what Peninnah had, but he didn't want to make her feel like she was supposed to get less than, because, he didn't want to give her less than. Oh, God. He didn't want to give her less than because he knew she already felt less than. He already knew that things were bad enough for her mentally, because I got to stop doing that because I don't want people to think I'm doing it. But he knew it's a habit. I saw myself doing it. He knew that how she felt inadequate. He saw her crying at the altar. He saw her weeping. I'm sure he would go in the room, and she would, would be crying and in a pity party, which was understandable because she couldn't have children. So what he did was he gave her a worthy portion, but she still cried. So what he said was, Hannah, why are you weeping and not eating? And why is your heart grieved? Because am I not better to you than 10 sons? But he didn't realize sometimes it's not about the quantity. It's about the quality, right? It's not just about, because see, sometimes we think I talked about the symptoms versus the substance. I got a video I talk about symptoms.
I think I would like to interject here. I think Hannah's issue was, indeed, she was loved by Elkanah, right? Her husband. And he gave to her beyond what he gave to Peninnah and her children. But love want to bestow love. And her bestowing and gifting to him would be a child.
Absolutely.
Right.
And that goes back. Go ahead. Go finish that.
That's what she wanted to give him, that he didn't understand. Absolutely. Like, I'm constantly giving love. And I'll be honest, I recently felt that myself, being a recipient, being somebody that's constantly receiving from a man and wanting to bestow it back. something of equal portion. And we know children, as we can see how Leah responded after every time she had a child, she would name her child and always link some kind of way to her husband, right? Now he'll do this. I'll show favor in this way. I'm giving him these sons. But it didn't work because his heart was with Rachel, right?
Yeah.
But Hannah still wanted to bestow upon her husband a gift, the gift of a son.
And when you go back to the Elkanah's meaning of his name, God is purchased. When anything you purchase, you want to return on your investment. The return on the investment is be fruitful and multiply. She knew his name meant God is purchased, but she felt in her mind she wasn't able to, through no fault of her own, because she was processing. She just wasn't producing, right? So. And say so absolutely. That's a great point. That I mean, that's you want to bestow upon him. Love bestows love. That is awesome. So elderly, y'all, those in the audience, tell me what are some ways if you don't know, that's cool though. But if you know people that are dealing with depression, how do you deal with them? Lisa said, call them, check on them. Lisa, I don't know about getting on their nerves, cheering them up, but cheer them up from your heart. It's the energy that needs to keep them pressing their way. I understand. To break it down. Okay. This is what I researched. Number one, you want to be there. You want to be there. You just want to be there. Let them know you care, that you're available to listen. Absolutely. Check in with them. Ask them how they're feeling. Take their thoughts and feelings seriously. Here it is. This is the most important part to me. You tell me if it's right or wrong. Don't rush to give advice or judge them. Everybody want to have the answer. Everybody wants to have a drop the mic moment, right? Everybody just, they want to have the key, to the. I mean, when I walked in my little sister's hospital room yesterday, although I knew she was, in a, it's heavily sedated, I just wanted to call her name and her wake up. I just wanted, because we all want to have the answer, right? And so when you're dealing with folk that are going through stuff that you might not be going through. Sometimes it's just better. Your presence is the present. Just be there. Just be there. And not only be there, and if you want to interject, stop me at any moment. Not only just be there, but offer support. Offer support. What kind of support did you receive during those times?
For me?
Yes. Did you have any support during those times?
Well, I mean, I don't often talk about it. I may bring it up with other women that I know are going through the same thing, that may be a little older than me, and I see that they don't have any children. I have several friends like that, but infertility is a very sensitive subject.
Yeah.
It's very sensitive.
What about the support from your spouse though at that time?
Well, I'll tell you, my ex, he said something very kind to me about that. One time I was really stressed about it. And he said to me that I don't need to worry about basically being a mother to the child, but what child is going to receive me as a mother? Like, he was like, that's what's going to be the grand thing. I'm here soaking about being a mother to a child, but he was like, it's about the child that's going to receive you. That child's going to be truly blessed. And he made me feel so good when he said that to me. And to take the strain off me, I somewhat felt like Elizabeth and John and Zachariah rather.
Yeah.
But he said that to me. He was very, he tried to be supportive. He tried to basically, like Hannah's husband, tell me, ain't I'm good to you, and I'm taking care of you, I'm loving you. But it's just something about being a mother. It's really, I don't want to say this, but I feel like it's rooted in selfishness, to be honest, because you just want to give something.
What's rooted in selfishness?
Even when you can't have a baby, like, why do I want this baby?
Oh, wow.
Do you even know what the destiny of that baby going to be? Like the women who are going out and having these IVFs and all these other things, even women that are having babies without fathers, like, that just blows my mind for a woman to choose to have a child and know the father won't be present. to choose for that father not to be present. To me, it's like you don't understand that we come from 26 chromosomes from both sides. And see, I've seen how personality and stuff play out from both parents. And not having understanding a component of the makeup of your child, that just blows my mind.
Wow.
That blows my mind that women willingly decide to do that. That's just, I hate to say it, but it's rooted in a self desire that I'm just going to get it by any means necessary. And to me, that's not considered of the child and what the child needs to be to understand themselves and to be most successful as a person. Because this life is hard, and you need to know a lot of what makes up you.
Wow. Wow.
So that's just how I take it.
Oh, I get it, and yeah, you're entitled to your opinion. Yeah, definitely, I get that. I get it. Elkanah, I feel Elkanah. I mean, because as a man, as a husband, we want to give our wives everything. You know what I'm saying? If we really love her, you know what I'm saying? And we definitely don't want to see her going through pain that we can't fix. You know what I'm saying? Because men, you know, so I heard one woman say that men like to fix things. You know, because we want peace. And if I can talk to you and fix your component that's gonna make you smile, that's gonna bring more peace in my life, I'm gonna do it. And if I'm walking in the room or walking in a temple or walking in a bedroom and I see my wife, someone I love, crying and weeping, you know, and feeling inadequate and all of those types of things, I want to do something about it, you know. And that's what Elkanah tried to compensate by giving her tangible things, you know. But some things, tangible things, can't compensate. And even going through depression, you know, when we're trying to offer support and trying to be there, it's not always about the tangible things, right? That's just like a child that has some mental issues or has some behavioral issues, but you're gonna continue to give him the PlayStations, and you're gonna continue to give them the toys and buy them these things, trying to compensate, you know, for the depression that's there, thinking it's gonna get them out of what that. No, that's not gonna work. You got to figure out how to help them balance those thoughts, get those thoughts to making good decisions. You're going to say something. Say it. What are you going to say?
I was just thinking about when you were saying the husband want to give. I thought about the story of Rachel and Jacob when Rachel said to him, "Give me children, else I die." And what did Jacob say? Jacob said his anger was kindled, and he said, "Am I in God who has withheld thee from having children?"
Yeah.
He basically let her know what's the issue here. It's him. It's not me.
Yeah.
And when the time was right, it happened.
And that's the key point. When the time is right. Let me get through these things. Ways to minister to people. Number 1, be there. Number 2, offer support. Number 3, if it's getting bad enough, encourage and professional help. Nothing wrong with getting therapy. There is nothing wrong. I mean, I'm personally getting therapy right now. Currently, I get it weekly, and it's an hour-long conversation. And we talk about whatever I want to talk about. If it's a bad thing, if I feel like, you know, we need to go unpack some things from the past, we'll go back and get those things. Last week, I didn't want to deal with some bad things. I said, I don't feel like crying today. I want to talk about something happy. I had a good weekend. So we had a good weekend, you know, so we have, cause, you know, part of mental health, and this is what I learned. The brain is always presented with ideas, right? You talked about algebra. Jawanza Kunjufu says most Black boys drop out of high school at the age of 14 because they don't understand algebra, right? Because the algebra helps people don't understand. Algebra helps you figure things out. You know, we learned that red means stop, yellow means slow down, green means go. We learned the shapes and all these, you know, yield and all these types of things, right? Algebra just helps us figure things out. So the higher we go, is kind of helps you start figuring things out. So when the brain is presenting ideas in a moment, at that moment, it has to make a good decision. And when it doesn't make good decisions at that moment, then you're said to have poor mental health. So you try to do things to make read books, study, you know, expose yourself to the right things, right? So when you're having trouble making those good decisions, sometimes it's good for people to go and get professional help. Oh, yeah. It's just good. You agree or disagree?
I totally agree.
It's a medical illness that requires treatment. So help them see a doctor. You know, a couple of weeks ago when we had a young man on, called in, told us some of his issues. After the show was over with, Ray, my resident therapist, as I call him, Ray and I got on the phone with that man. We called him in Washington State and talked for 45 minutes, Nicole. 45 minutes. And the conversation ended with Ray encouraging him to get therapy and also encouraging him, if necessary, to get medication, for it to help him make good decisions. So we want to do three things. Number one, we want to be there, offer support, encourage professional help, but also, you know what else we want to do? Pray. We want to encourage self-help.
Amen.
Gently encourage them to start doing things that make them feel better. Stay active. Eat well. Do the things that you enjoy. You can also remind them that what the old folk used to say in the church, trouble don't last always. Just let them know depression don't last always.
Yeah.
Depression can improve with time and treatment. It can. So you have to encourage them to help themselves. Do not, Elder Lisa, do not conjure. Do not become just a crutch for them, but be a bridge for them. Help them get from this dark place that they're in back into the light. That's the goal. We want to get them from this dark place. And then you know what the final thing you got to do? Be patient.
Oh my God, yeah.
Just be patient. Just be patient. I ain't gonna hold you up no more, Nicole, because I promise I told you 15 minutes. And I probably, like I said, if you want to stay on, you can. But I got some more to go. I ain't used to be lying. And you talk the scripture good, so it makes it fun. It makes it easy for me. So
I'm glad you brought up the patience, because we give up, because life hard for us too. People that not depressed are going in and out depression. You know what I'm saying? Not functional depressed people. It's what they call it, functional depressed. There's a lot of us that are functionally depressed. We're going and we're doing our jobs, we're handling business, and life is hard for us too. So when people are dealing, you be like, look, when you ready, look, I don't got time, I can't hear it, whatever. But you just have to be patient, and I try to let people know that when they're ready to talk, I might shoot them a text, just say, I'm thinking about you, I'm praying for you. And when you're ready to talk, because a lot of times we're depressed. Like me lately, I've been wanting to isolate myself, because at the end of the day, you don't want to give that low energy. When you're depressed and you're not feeling well, there's a frequency and a vibration that is sending. And I realize that too. So I want to isolate myself. But when I receive those texts from friends telling me they're praying for me, they're thinking about me, that helps me feel better. I got a text today that told me that storms don't last always. Basically, what you just saying, trouble don't last always. The storm will be over. And I created a new saying yesterday, because I was like, in my feeling, I was thinking about Tupac, shed so many tears. But then I said, yet I anticipate the dawn.
Yeah. Oh,
be nice. I gotta anticipate.
Hold on. I owe you something. Hold on. Let me get one of you.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord.
Yeah, I said I might need to trademark that, but I anticipate the dawn.
She said, I anticipate the dawn. Guess that means morning is coming.
It's coming. It can't stay dark all the time.
Can't stay dark all the time. Wow. So y'all missed that. Hey, listen, when you start speaking that kind of language, you're talking my language right there. But you know what's funny? Because if you're patient long enough, if you fuel them with those little texts, if you give them, because you know what, I always use this theme of breadcrumbs. When you're trying to get somebody from one place to the other, if you can't get them to eat the whole thing, give them breadcrumbs and lead them where you need them to be. Because this segues into the text. Look what happens to Hannah in verse number 9. So Hannah rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh and after they had drunk. Now, Eli the priest sat up on a seat by a post of the temple of the Lord, and she was in bitterness of soul and prayed unto the Lord and wept sore. And she vowed a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if thou would indeed look on the affliction of thine handmaid and remember me and not forget thine handmaid, but here it is, will give unto thine handmaid a man child.
A man child.
Then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. Watch this. This was how she chose to handle her barrenness. Some women chose to share their husbands with a more fertile rival. Sarah gave Hagar to Abram. Rachel used Bilhah. How would you pronounce it? Leah used Zilpah, because what they did was, because they felt like they needed to fix what they felt like God messed up on.
My Lord.
You'll always have problems trying to fix what you think God messed up on. We see sometimes we think God made a mistake because we don't understand the providence of God. The sovereign will of God said God can do what he wants to do, when he wants to do it, however he chooses to do it. And if you're barren, all that means is that you're barren for now. And it also means you've not had children yet, because God can reverse it whenever he chooses to reverse it, right? So others tried herbs. Rachel, you look it up. Rachel tried herbs. They were Mandarin. That's that. Girl, I might have a cold. They were barren and longing for something that they had not been able to obtain naturally. But listen, Charles E. Williams says carnal knowledge cannot embrace divine vision.
Come on.
Some things you're trying to fight in the natural can only be done in the spiritual. So old folks used to say it like this: while you trying to figure it out, God be over in the heavens trying to work that thing out. But the problem is because we have not marked time yet. Because understand, like I told you, we so consumed with our now that we don't understand that God has already taken care of our next.
My Lord.
Others prayed. Hannah did two things that people who are going through depression ought to do. She ate and she prayed.
My God.
Never ate. Person who was really dear to me, I won't say who she is, but her mother had passed away. And I got news about it. And I'd heard she hadn't eaten in 2 or 3 days. And so I know her. So I went to the store, went to the restaurant, bought some oxtails, bought some cabbage and some macaroni and cheese, and went over to the house, put the stuff on put the food on the corner of the table, and went and got something to drink. Both of us gave her a fork. I took a fork, and we just started eating. Didn't talk, didn't say a word. I knew she was grieving because the mother, fresh wound. Mother just died 2 days ago, and she hadn't eaten, but she needed to eat, right? She needed to eat. So I just put the food in front of her because I know the routine and I know what she likes, knew what she liked, right? So we sat down and just started eating it. We just started eating and we started eating. And she looked up and she wanted to start explaining. I said, just eat. Because I needed her to get her strength back, right? Because see, when we don't eat, we start to become depleted of our strength. And we become depleted of our strength, then we start lending our bodies to other things, become subjected and susceptible to other spirits and things that can overtake us, right? So we have to make sure that we go in the strength of meat. See, that when I read last week, the Bible says that after Elijah had eaten, when he was under the juniper tree, he went in the strength of that meat for 40 days, right? So because one meal took him for 40 days. So when you're depressed and you're not eating it, you're thinking the wrong thing. Then you're going to leave some wickedness in the spirit, and then your faith. Without faith, it's impossible to please God.
Amen.
So she eats and she prays, she meditates. And when she prays, look what she does. She's very specific in her prayers, because when she prays, she specifically not only asks for a child, but she asks for what? Like you just said, a male child. Why? Because she wanted her blessing to be a reproducing blessing. I know y'all gonna say they chauvinist and all that kind of stuff, but we had different customs back then, okay? Men worked in the temple. Men that worked in the temple, that worked for the priest, they didn't cut their hair. They carried a certain. Am I right? Tell me if I'm wrong, Nicole. You know this stuff better than I do. Am I saying it right?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And the man responsibility for, like I was saying, as far as me and knowing about my care back in the day, it rested on the son. It didn't rest on the daughter.
Yeah.
Even if she didn't give him to the temple, he would have that responsibility.
Absolutely. So she prayed that prayer. And now Eli showed us how not to deal with somebody going through depression. Okay, because there's a specific way to deal with somebody going through depression, but then there's a way not to deal with it. Look at verse number 12. It says, and it came to pass as she continued praying before the Lord that Eli marked her mouth. Now Hannah, she spake in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. Therefore, Therefore, Eli thought she had been drunken. And Eli said unto her, how long wilt thou be drunken? Put away thy wine from thee. So, several things you don't want to do when you see somebody that's going through depression. Number one, don't ever minimize their feelings. Don't minimize their feelings. Don't assume, don't say stuff is not that bad, or you always look like, you look like you got it together. Like you said, people didn't know you were going through what you were going through, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then if you show your testimony, and that's why a lot of people don't want to become vulnerable. Because when they are vulnerable, you never know what a person's going to do with that vulnerability. They're going to take advantage of it, right? Because if I show you my wounds, all right, what can I trust you with that?
Mm.
So don't minimize their wounds. Don't offer advice, especially if you haven't gone through it. I appreciate grief counseling groups and and all these different kind of groups, because those people have all gone through similar things. But you have some people who think that they're jacks of all trades and masters of none, and think because they know a couple of scriptures that they're supposed to fix it. Sometimes you just need to be quiet. Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar sat there for 3 days. They did good as long as they sat there. But the moment they opened their mouth with Job, that's when they started messing up. Well, Job, maybe you did this. No. Well, maybe you did that. No. Maybe you did that. No. And then had Job thinking bad things, and Job started complaining. Then all of a sudden, God said, well, hold on, Job, where were you when I tacked the grass down like carpet? Where were you? Because okay. So don't offer advice. Another thing, if the person isn't responding to you, I had this one bad after my divorce, Nicole, because I was going through depression. Other people taking things personally. I'm the type of person that when I'm depressed, I go through it by myself.
Yes, me too.
Don't come put your hand on my shoulder, and want to offer me prayer. I pray from over there. You know what I'm saying? I know that Jesus is on the main line. I can call him up and tell him what I want. I don't need you to help me with that. I got that. I appreciate you. But I go through my thing by myself. And so sometimes I found that when I dismissed people, and I try to do it in a nice way, because I go through it alone. I know we're not in the zodiac, but I'm a Cancer. Only one crab per shell. This is me. I'm alone in this whole thing. So don't take it personally when I tell you I'm good. Let me just make it through this thing like that. And then another thing is, don't be judgmental. Don't be judgmental. Statements like just think happy thoughts. Why are you so sad? Everything else is good in your life. Why you? Let me see. Okay. Yeah, that's what
I have a friend that's a therapist. She had a good. She always do these mental health Wednesdays, but she said so. I told her I was going to adopt it as a post. I haven't done it yet, but at some point. But basically, she said, when people are feeling overwhelmed, and especially people who are normally responsive and good with communicating to get back at you. She said we need to use that same communication and simply let people know I'm overwhelmed. I'm checking out. I'll reach back out when I'm ready. Right? That's just let them know I'm checking out. Don't just ghost folks, because when you do a 180 like that, people take note. Let them know I'm going through. Pray. I'll check back in when I'm ready.
Yeah, and I know I'm swift for this mouth, so I know I probably cut some people. I even wrote about it in my book. I said God sent me a bunch of spiritual ravens to minister to me while I was at my brook of Kerith. A lot of them, and I recognize them, but there was some, like I said, I just wasn't ready. And I would tell them, give me a minute, give me 50 feet, and like I said, and I know I probably damaged some relationships, and I probably apologize. If y'all listen, I apologize. But I was, hurt people. We going through things, we go through them. That's where I was, right? But this is the thing, though, Nicole. What people don't understand, they try to control, right? And a lot of times they're afraid of it. So what do? They try to kick it, kill it, or cage it, because they can't control it. And that's what Eli was doing. He looking at this woman that's weeping and says that
she drunk.
You drunk. But Hannah said, no, my Lord, I'm a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I've drank neither wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before the Lord. Count not thine handmaid for a daughter of Belial. Because see, so many times we want to over spiritualize everything. He wants to count her as a daughter of Belial, and you know Belial at that time was a spirit. That was called like almost called him a son of Satan, a daughter of Satan, or whatever at that point. Because she says, "For out of the abundance of my complaint and grief have I spoken thitherto." I've come to the place where I can lay my all on the altar.
My Lord.
I've come to the temple, and that's why I've come to pray. But how many times have we gone to the church to lay our all on the altar, but then somebody who wasn't qualified misdiagnosed me?
My Lord.
Y'all better be careful diagnosing people that you're not qualified to diagnose. Old folk used to say it like this: what you don't understand, guess what? You'll understand it when? Better by and by. Just live a little bit longer.
Keep saying it.
Life lends lessons, right? We just got to consider the clues. But everything we think we have we want to have the answer for everything. And some things we just don't understand. I'm not an expert in certain areas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an expert. I don't want to be an expert in any area, but I can help you get the resources.
Yes.
I can help you get to the place you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
I can help you get to the place, because just like tonight, we're talking about depression, but some ladies listening that who has not been able to have children, but she's heard Nicole's story. Just like we said, you don't have to be, you can be barren and still be a mother.
Oh yeah.
I got an aunt that is a mother of everybody's children in the family, but she didn't have children of her own, but she's the best mother. And I mean, just the best mother, right? But we got to stop over spiritualizing. Well, what did you do wrong? Well, what the sins of the father visit the next generation. Shut up. Like Hannah did, and pray. So then Eli answered, verse number 17, and said, "Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou hast asked him." She said, "Let thine handmaid find grace in thy sight." So the woman went her way and did eat, and her countenance was no more sad. And they rose up early in the morning and worshiped before the Lord, and returned and came to their house Ramah, and came to their house to Ramah. And Elkanah knew his wife. You know what that means? They did the beast with two backs, and the Lord remembered her. What is you? But ain't nothing like you praying. I said the beast with two backs.
What?
I gotta be diplomatic how I say it on the show, But anyway, he knew his wife. They did it. That's another way. Like we said in elementary school, they did it. They did it. That's what, so they did it. He knew his wife, and the Lord remembered. It's nothing like praying a prayer and the Lord remembering it.
Amen. Amen.
Because you know what, he might not answer it when you want him to answer it the way you want. Because see, when it comes to prayer, God will answer. He either do it, deny it, or delay it, right? But he answers. Sometimes we might not like the answer, but when he remembers your prayer, oh my God, that means he's ready to grant your prayer. Wherefore, that's why verse number 20 says, "Wherefore it came to pass, when the time was come about after Hannah had conceived." She conceived. She had a boy. She bare a son and called his name Samuel. Why did she call him Samuel? But she said, "Because I have asked him of the Lord." I asked God for a blessing, and God gave me exactly what I was asking for. All this time, let's recap. Elkanah, name meant God has purchased. If God purchases something, if you read the scripture, you read the parable of the talents. He expects a return on his investment. He just does. He expects a return on his investment. He had gotten his return with Peninnah, but he had not gotten it with Hannah. Hannah felt, what did you say? That love bestows love. Explain that one more time.
When you're receiving it, you want to give it back.
So her husband,
she was reaping a dollar love, and she wanted to give it.
Yeah, she was reaping because he obviously loved her. And she wanted to give it back, and she wanted to give it back to him in the form of a child. Yes. But couldn't do it. So, but you know what? She didn't panic when she prayed. She prayed. She was a little depressed. She was down, but she didn't panic. She didn't pout when she had the ability to pray. She called on somebody that could make a difference, because when the in vitro doesn't work, or whatever you call it, whatever you call it, IVF or
Yeah.
whatever it is,
Mhm.
and all of these other fertility drugs that you want to try, when all those things don't work, at the end of the day, if God decides to open up the open up the womb,
Oh yeah, it's
you will
open.
produce. And let me take that out of the having children phase. Because I'm talking to somebody else that's listening, or someone who will listen, who's been going through depression because things aren't going the way you want them to go,
Mm.
and because you haven't been as productive as you would have liked to have been productive, right? Stuff that just hadn't been working out. Went to school, got the degree, but you still can't get a job, or you got a job and you can't, your credit still messed up, all those things. Somebody's listening has not been able to produce. But guess what? Just because you haven't produced doesn't mean that you won't produce. It just means that you haven't produced yet. And you've been trying to fight a spiritual battle with carnal weapons. You thought the education could do it. You thought the job was the source. You thought that somebody else, you were looking for a recommendation or a promotion from man. But last time I checked, promotion don't come from the north, south, east, or west, but promotion comes from above. So when you stop trying to figure it out and let God work it out and do like Hannah did. Hannah prayed until she didn't have any more words to pray. All she had was her spirit. And guess what? God is a spirit. And they that worship him got to do it a certain way. You can't you got to do it in spirit. Somebody throwing a shoe at me. In spirit and in truth. And when you identify and speak the right language, and God resonates what he has not done, guess what? He still has the ability to do. I don't care what y'all say. I promise you. Just because he has not done it doesn't mean that he doesn't. Who is somebody said just because he hadn't done it doesn't change his ability? He still can do it. And that's all. And that's where we are. And that's where Hannah had not had children. But when God said it was time, Sarah was how old? 90 years old?
90.
And then God said, yeah, it's time. And I'm telling whoever this is that's been non-productive, because I ain't gonna lie, I've been there. When I was stuck on my couch, y'all, I promise, that's the name of my book, Stuck on the Couch. I was not producing. I wasn't. I was very non-productive. Nicole, I tell this testimony. I'm gonna really tell it. I've told it several times, but after I moved into my apartment, I moved in on a Sunday, went to work on Monday, and got fired.
My Lord.
And when I came home from getting fired, I said that I'd never work for anybody again. So really, I came home and waited to get evicted. And I figured once I get evicted, it was worse. I could always go back home. And I didn't want to go back home because I didn't want to be embarrassed. I'm talking about back to my parents' house. I look like a 45-year-old man going back home to his parents. But every time, on the last day, I get a phone call, and it would be enough. Be enough every time. I stopped trying to figure it out, and that was God that was him. Honestly, Nicole, I'm just being honest and being 100% transparent. That was God giving me blessings that I wasn't even praying for. Because I wasn't thinking to pray during that time. I was
cast out. He was carrying you.
Yeah, I was in my pity party. I'm talking about straight. Yeah, he was straight carrying me. I was in a straight pity party. Y'all ever known somebody you ever known God give you blessings that you didn't even pray for?
Absolutely.
But Hannah was super specific. Give me a male child. And if you give him to me, I'll give him to the temple. And no razor shall ever come up on his head. And you know what? After she had the child, guess what? She did exactly what she said she was going to do.
Yes, she did.
She took him to Eli. And they needed him because Phineas and Hophni were a mess. They were a mess. We couldn't leave the temple in their hands. But Samuel was raised up. And that was the same Samuel who laid hands on David. So I'm telling you now what.
She had many more children after that. I believe 5.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I'm trying. And I'm glad you brought that up, because whoever it is that their productivity has been stopped up for whatever reason, as soon as it starts to flow, watch what comes next. It becomes
Yeah.
contagious.
Mm.
That's when blessings will start to chase after you and overtake you. I think you'll be like, dang, another. You'll be like, ooh, another blessing. Oh, another blessing.
Anticipate the
For
dawn.
real?
Amen.
Like
Come on.
another blessing. It happens that way. Real talk. It really does. And Nicole, thank you for coming on tonight. I appreciate you. I promise. I know I told you I said 15 minutes. I'm sorry.
No, I stayed here because I needed this. This is good. You didn't preach tonight.
I was gonna say, send me an invoice if I owe you for your time or something.
Oh no, this is in kind.
Okay, it's in kind. Okay, cool. Listen, you all, if you ready to produce for 30 years, yeah. And you're not the only one, Lisa Smith. Amen. She said, I'm ready to produce. And that's where we are. Some of us have been stuck on start.
Mm.
Some of us have been stuck in states of stagnation. Stuck in state. I mean, just stagnant. Life is just stuck.
Oh, yeah.
Stuck. But when God says go, but you know what? And we talked about that last week. Sometimes you waiting on him to show up in the earthquake. He's not in the earthquake. Sometimes you wait on him to show up in the fire. Nah, he's not in the fire. Sometimes you looking up for him to show up in the wind because you want some kind of theatrical moment where God gives you this epiphany, right? And it looks like, and God come in doing, sometimes God speaks in a still voice, small voice. But that's when like Nicole said, I told a friend of mine day before yesterday, that's when you get to a place of solitude. But you know why a lot of y'all don't ever get to a place of solitude? Because you're too afraid to be alone. Yeah. Sometimes a lot of y'all don't ever get to really hear that small voice that God speaks, because he does speak. He speaks. And the sheep know the shepherd's voice, and the stranger will not answer. But if you can't hear it because you're looking for the wind, and you're looking for the earthquake, and you're looking for the fire, but the testimony, God testified through the fire. He said, I'm not in the fire. I'm not in the earthquake. I'm not in the wind. I'm speaking prophetically now. Somebody's catching what I'm saying. You catch it. But he says, I'm in the small. When I get angry, I don't get loud. I get quiet. And when I really want somebody to hear me, I get really, my children, when I was an immature parent, I would raise my voice. But as I got older, Nicole, I'm closing when I finish this right quick. I'm closing. But my son played for a baseball team. And it was one of those all black coaches. Sometimes I think we can be a little overzealous as coaches. I had to tell the coach one time, you yell at my son one more time, he don't play for you anymore. Because he's at the plate not ready to hit, because he was only 10 years old, And he was one of the ones that played the longest because I didn't let that happen. But anyway, at a certain point, he started letting me do the pregame speech. These boys were very talented, all 9, 10 years old, very talented. But when I would do the pregame speech, I would sit on a bucket, Nicole, and I get right in the middle of the dugout, and I would have them stand around me, and I would talk about this loud. I said, "Can y'all hear me?" "Can y'all hear me?" "Okay, listen, we're gonna get out here, no errors, eliminate errors. We're gonna play for each other." Very calm tone, you know what I'm saying? But they would be so crunk, and they would go out there and they would play the best games. Now, when it was state championship, I never will forget. I had to go to the car and get something. And on my way back, I could hear the head coach, one of the coaches yelling at the boys saying, "Yeah, we finna see what y'all made of now. Yeah." I said, "No." Because you could see it in their eyes, the fear that he gave them when he started telling them, trying to get them out. Nah. And I told him, I said, you coached 15-year-old basketball. This is 10-year-old baseball. You got to have a different mentality. They have to be settled. They have to be quiet. And I spoke to their spirits right before they went out there. And that's what I'm doing to somebody tonight. I don't know who you are, but if you're stuck on start, if you're stuck in a state of stagnation, I challenge you to get to a place of solitude. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And you might mess around and bump into a spirit or read whatever you read, whatever your meditation piece is. I'm rolling with Jesus Christ. That's all I know of. God, I'll roll with the triune God, God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. But whatever it is that you do, get to that place. That place of solitude, and you can come out of whatever it is you're in. God that's not intended for us to live in these dark places. He's called us to come out of darkness and rise up and walk in the goodness of life. We got to walk in the marvelous light, and we can do it. We can do it, but we got to overcome All right. I've seen some people say they're ready. Sharon Denise says she's ready. Elder Lisa Smith says she's ready. Conjure Hilliard says she's ready. Right. You might have been infertile you might be infertile in your personal life right now. And I'm not talking about having children, but I speak to that infertility. And I'm telling you, if you search for that small voice, not only search for it, just make yourself available. And when you hear it, heed. She got up because you know what? Faith comes before the act. God, did I just say that? Sometimes faith comes before fruition. You know that, right? You might not see the fruit of your labor, but you still can have faith before it happens. Because when Hannah got up, Nicole, I think she thought it was already done.
She did. That's why she ate and was happy.
She had a different disposition than when she got up than when she got down on her knees. She was weeping and crying, but when she got up, and the man of God,
time to eat.
Hey, I'm hungry right now. I'm about to go eat. How about you?
When you're happy, you're ready to eat.
I'm ready to eat. I got some watermelon in there. I got some leftover chicken. I'm not gonna go. Usually I get off the show and go fried chicken at 10 o'clock. And I like my 8 o'clock start time better than 9 o'clock start time, y'all. So this is where we're gonna be at for a while. So this is where I'll go. This is where I'm gonna be at for a while. So I'm done. This has been hold on. Let me see if I got any hold on. I think I got some sound effects for this is for hold on. Where they at? Oh, here it is. I really like
round of applause.
Yeah, that's good. Right. I like this is good stuff. Y'all everybody give Nicole some hearts. Give her some hearts for sharing her testimony. She has not been able to produce children of her own, but she is a great mother, and you do not want to cross her because she'll take you to task about it. You see that face she just made? And she's from Alabama, so don't y'all be very nervous. Be very, very nervous. All right. Nicole, you coming back. Is that okay?
Whenever you want me, I'll be here.
We're gonna get Nicole back.
You didn't know it, but the Lord spoke through you, so I needed to hear that, and I'll give you the testimony once it's manifested.
Absolutely. And like I said, I don't know Nicole from Adam, y'all. We just every now and then we have a conversation in the inbox, and it's never been anything inappropriate or nothing. It's always something spiritual or something about scripture. Or now one day she challenged me on something. I forgot what it was. I said, you gotta give me some time to think on that because she asked them essay questions, but it's all good. Stop spelling Nicole's name wrong. Y'all got a clue right there on the screen. I'm joking. I'm sorry, I made the other thing. Consider the clue.
It's fine.
I'm joking. No, I'm joking. Y'all know I be joking. As long as you don't come in here telling me somebody died in the middle of my freaking show like somebody did me last week. That was tough.
My God.
Last week. I'm like, don't do me like that. But no, for real, y'all, please continue to pray for my sister. Please continue to pray for her. She's in a very dire state. Very dire state. But I know a man. And I've seen him step in and reverse situations that men had called impossible. So that's where I'm at. Conju, I'm just playing with you. Don't be telling Pastor that I was talking about you. But anyway, all right. So Nicole, I'm gonna go ahead and take you out right now. Thank you. I appreciate you, and we'll be in contact soon. Okay.
All right. Have a good evening.
All right. Cool. Let me make a couple of quick announcements. Listen, we're gonna be doing our book launch on September the 1st. September 1st at Jackson Memorial Baptist Church. So I'm looking forward to that. Those that have gotten the book and have read it, I might be asking you for some testimonials here in the next week or so. If you would read it, let me know what you think about it, and we're gonna put those testimonials out. But yeah, keep my sister in your prayers. Trying to think if I left anything out. I really appreciate all of you all for your support during this time. I don't know why God led us to start dealing with depression and mental health and all those things, but we're here. And that's what we're going to continue to do. We've been dealing with depression the last few weeks. We'll see where the Lord leads us on next week. I think I know. Probably going to deal with grief. I don't want to, though. I found myself asking God yesterday why I have to be the one to do it. But if he tells me to do it, and he doesn't really raise his voice at me, that's why I can hear him. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do. So I'm going. You're gonna be gone next week, but prayers for all of us. All right, that's cool. That's cool. And I might come on before next week because some other people still want to do some other type shows. But this show I'm going to dedicate to this. Oh, you know what? Somebody might want to call in. I didn't give that. I didn't give that option. If somebody did anybody have something they wanted to call in or give a testimony or something? I forgot to put the phone number up. You're gonna give me a second to, and if not, we're gonna go anyway. Hold on, I don't have the phone number up yet. So I don't have the app up yet. So give me a second. Give me 1 second. There it is. All right, if you want to call, you can call now, but I'm only gonna give you like 3 minutes, and then I'm gonna go. And I ain't gonna lie. Part of me, the reason why I cut the show off, but started the show at 8 versus 9, is because sometimes I get off. I'm on such a spiritual high. When I get to do it at 10:30, 10:45, I don't go to bed till 1:30, 2 o'clock because I'm on such a spiritual high. So I'm very cautious about that. Okay. So 8 o'clock is the new start time. Y'all, please make the adjustments and let's continue to grow together. I see more you all sharing it. I see more you all reacting. I see more you all interacting, and I don't take that for granted. Okay. If you do want to be a blessing to the platform, I've shown you. Have I given the phone? Anybody call? Nobody call. Nobody call. Cool. If you want to be a blessing to the platform, we did start getting some blessings last week. I appreciate that. This is work. It does take work, but here it is. That's the Cash App. That's the Cash App. Cash App, the Intellectual Stew. Cash App. I just got a text. Okay, made to Missouri. Okay, cool. Whew. All right, I'm scared of getting the wrong text at this particular moment. So y'all keep my family in your prayers, and I will keep you in mind. And I think, have I left anything out, Viola? That Viola said dealing with topics that are definitely needed. Okay. Viola keeps me straight too. Have I left anything out? Have I left anything out? If not, if all hearts and minds are clear, I'm acting like we at church. If all hearts and minds are clear, no, sir. Okay, cool. So what is 9:30 and we're done? Wow. Let me just let that soak in for a minute. It's 9:30 and we are done. Thank you, Conjure. All right, so I'm out. God bless y'all. We'll see you next time.
Intellectual stew.